Hello, my loves, and welcome back to the I Think I Need Therapy podcast. I am so excited for today's episode. I have a very special guest on today. Her name is Hayley Manners. She is a Canadian track athlete who went D1, is now graduated, and is starting her own organization community for track athletes who are looking to go explore their life, explore the field of athletics after college, which is so cool, so inspiring. And she's also a creator, content creator. She is a very inspiring person and is just making a name for herself, and I really wanted her to come on the podcast today to share her story with you, to share her journey through athletics and sport with you, and share some words of wisdom with you all. And so I'm so excited to get into this episode. Go make sure to check out all her socials, and I really hope you enjoy this episode and get something from it. So let's just get right on into it. Okay, hi Hayley.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Thanks for joining me today. I am so excited. You are like my first real guest on the podcast.
So excited.
Yes. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit for the guests?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey everyone, I'm Hayley Manners. I am originally from Toronto and I'm a former Division 1 track and field athlete. I'm also a dual master's grad and former Canadian national champ, and I'm super excited to be here to talk about my journey today.
Yes, I'm so excited too. I am having Hayley on today because we have so much in common. I forget how I found you on Instagram, but I remember being like, oh my God, a Canadian track and field athlete who went D1, who's doing so incredible. And you do like content creation, and I love all your videos. She has YouTube videos. Go check them out, everyone. They're so good. And we both just graduated from D1 athletics, so I thought it was a perfect guest to have on to talk about all these things: D1 sports, mental health, life after sports, and how to go pro, because you have your community organization that you're building, ProTrackletes, which
Absolutely.
we'll get into a whole conversation with that, which I'm really excited for. But yeah, I want to know all about your athletic journey, because both of us went D1 from Ontario, Canada to the States. So like, how did you get into track? How did the recruiting process go for you? I want to know all about it.
Yeah, to be honest, I love sharing this story because I feel like it's a little different from other track athletes just because I, had been doing track for my whole life, but never taking it seriously until about halfway through high school. So whenever I say that, people are always like, what do you mean? Like, you didn't actually start training until like junior year of high school? And I'm like, yeah, because I was doing other stuff. So, I mean, I was always that kid who was like running around on the playground, like, being faster than all the boys, like that was always my thing. And so I did track for fun in elementary school and, experimented with hurdles and triple jump, the 4x1, like all the sprints and everything. And, I was a competitive gymnast for a long time and I played like all kinds of different sports throughout school, like basketball, volleyball, soccer, all the things. And once I grew too tall for gymnastics, I was like, okay, I have to find something else. Like, what am I going to do now? So I started to get really good at track, and I had a coach take a chance on me. And I know you would be familiar with OFSA, which is, our state meet, I guess. I qualified for that in all 4 years of high school, which was pretty unheard of, especially from like, my little area. Like nobody was going to OFSA for track. So it was like, people were like maybe you need to start taking this more seriously. And so that's really how it started. I had like a really great meet at OFSA during my grade 11 year and ended up placing second out of all the seniors. And that really put my name on the map and kind of propelled me into pursuing D1 athletics.
Oh, nice. I love that. I feel like when you said gymnastics, so many track and field athletes I feel like come from
Oh yeah.
gymnastics or like dance kind of background. So
Yeah.
I feel like we all start from a different sport and then somehow like just gravitate to track, which I love.
Track is like the end game.
Yeah, no, literally. But it's the best. I love it so much.
Me too.
So you do long jump and triple jump, correct?
That's right. Yep.
Those are the main ones. Nice. And you first went to a school in Michigan, if I'm correct.
Yes, I went to Central Michigan.
Oh,
That's where I got recruited to out of high school. And,
okay, nice.
to most people's surprise, it was only a 5 hour drive from Toronto. So it was
Oh,
not
that's
super
nice.
far.
Yeah.
Didn't have to like, fly and pack up my whole life in two
Uh-huh.
luggages to go to school. I really just took my car and did it that way. So
Nice. And then you went from there to Florida.
yes.
How did that work? Like, how did you decide that to go to Florida and everything?
Yeah, you know what? It was a whole process, but luckily it was a lot easier because I was graduating from Central Michigan. So I was actually like finished my degree, got my undergrad, and then I was going to be a grad transfer. So I didn't have to
Okay.
worry about, sitting out or anything like that because I was finishing school. And so that was part of the process that made it a lot easier for me. And I actually could talk to coaches during that last season at Central Michigan. And so that was really helpful. I actually ended up going on a visit to UCF after we competed there, which is such a crazy
Oh,
story. Like, we just happened to have a meet at UCF, one of our first outdoor meets of the entire season. And like, we traveled to cool places at CMU, but this was like one of the big ones. And so it just worked out that I was looking into that school for grad school. And so after the meet, I just stayed like an extra 2 days and did my official visit and then went home after that. So
oh, it's perfect.
yeah, it was kind of crazy how that worked out, but
Yeah. Oh, nice. What division is Central Michigan?
they're Division 1. They're in the Mid American Conference. Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice. So D1 to D1. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Did you look into any other schools other than UCF?
I did, yeah. So I had a couple on the radar. I really wanted to go to a school that had a great sport management or sports business program because I did do my undergrad in kinesiology and wanted to make the pivot. I knew I didn't want to be a PT or go to PA school or anything like that. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do to like pivot? And so I was looking into business programs, and I mean, UCF, like, I could talk for days about their sport management grad program because it's incredible, but you get 2 degrees, an MBA and a master's of sports business management, which was ultimately one of the big factors in me going there. But other schools I did look into were the University of Michigan, Oklahoma, for a little bit. I was talking to the coach at USC, and then I also was really interested in UNC Chapel Hill because they have a great sport admin program. But I think the demands of that program wouldn't have let me be an athlete at the same time. So that was obviously
Mhm.
important to me too. But
Definitely.
ultimately landed on UCF, and I'm so glad that I did.
Yeah. Wow, you would talk to some like really big name schools.
I know, it's
That's
crazy.
impressive. What is it like? I feel like living in Florida must be so nice compared to Toronto.
Yeah, it is very different, I will say. The weather is obviously the thing that jumps out and not
Mhm.
quite the thing that's keeping me here.
So
But
fair.
it's crazy. Like, it just makes such a difference in the way that you do life, I feel like, because when it's nice
Mhm.
outside all the time, like, you just want to go out and do things.
Oh my
Like,
God, yeah.
I know in Toronto and in Ontario, like, when it's cold for 8 months out of the year, like, you just want to be a hermit inside. And so it's
Literally.
tough. And I guess I just feel more motivated and like ready to do stuff while I'm here. So that's part of the reason. But there's also just so much opportunity, especially in Orlando here, where I've created like my little bubble and community. So I'm just excited that I get to be here for a little longer. So
That's so good. I love that. I know it's been like raining all the time here, and I'm just like, I want to go back to the States.
I
I want to go back to the warmth.
know.
Yeah. But so you did 5 years of track, right? If I'm correct?
It ended up
The
being
six.
6 in
Six.
college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, because you had an injury.
hmm
Yeah, what was that whole process like? I know you documented a little bit about it on your social medias and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. So we were just talking about like the transfer process. I had just started my first semester at UCF, and honestly, like it was a big change to adapt going
yeah,
from pretty much cold weather all the time and training on an indoor surface to training outside all the time where it was hot and humid on an outdoor track. Like it was
yeah,
such a weird feeling like not having an indoor track here. And it's like I literally grew up only training in indoor tracks because it's
yeah,
cold all the time. So it was an adjustment. But at the end of that first semester, we had an inter squad meet beginning of December. And honestly, like having Achilles tendonitis is very common in jumpers. Jumpers knee, patellar tendonitis is also super common.
mhm,
But I was dealing with some Achilles tendonitis and it didn't feel like anything out of the ordinary. But unfortunately, on that inter squad day, I think it was like my fifth round jump. So I literally only had two jumps left. I was coming down the runway and you just heard like a snap and a pop of my
oh,
ankle. And oh, like when you talk to people who were there on that day, like everyone heard it. Like it was
no,
loud, it was crazy, and like it wasn't even that dramatic because I just kind of like ran out of it, like kind of fell to
mhm.
the ground after a few steps. But yeah, tore my Achilles. And I knew exactly what it was when it happened. And I was like, I wasn't even crying after because it was hurting. I was like crying because I was mad and I was like, I'm not gonna be able to run. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of what happened and what started really like my content creation journey after that. So
Nice, a blessing in disguise in one way.
exactly.
Yeah, that's how I felt about my injury because I dealt with shin splints my whole college career.
Okay.
And like it was frustrating because I had always brought them up. I'm like, my shins are really hurting. Like I can't do like the sprints or like even when I'm competing, it's really hurting. And they were just like, yeah, it's shin splints. Yeah, it's shin splints. And then eventually, like 3 years down the line, my junior year, I finally got an MRI and I was like, oh, you have stress fracture.
Yeah.
And I was like, could I have not known this sooner? But honestly, it was a blessing because like just like being diagnosed and being like, okay, you have a stress fracture, you have to take a break.
Yeah.
Because then I could finally like actually heal and recover like what had been going on too.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I love for some reason I love the training room. I love just like being doing rehab and like being around like all the different athletes and sports.
That's
I miss
funny.
that.
I don't know
Yeah.
if I can relate to that if I'm being honest. I've spent so many hours in that training room. I'm
Yeah.
like, get me out of there.
I know. I remember having to like it adds so much to your day too because it's like, okay, well, I have to go to practice, but I also have to do like 30 minutes plus of rehab too.
Yeah. No, it's
It
like
adds more costs.
before and after, like you gotta
Mhm.
handle it all. So for sure.
Exactly. What was it like for you mentally to go through that? Because I know for me it was hard, like having to watch my teammates compete and practice and like not being able to do anything. So what was that like for you?
Yeah. You know what? I tell people all the time, like, when it first happened, it was really hard to come to that realization that I wasn't going to be able to, compete with my team in the first season that I had transferred there. And, at the time it was UCF's first season in the Big 12. So I was like coming in there knowing that before I got hurt and I was like ready to make an impact and be this like great team player and contribute to, what would have been UCF's inaugural season. And so it was a little disappointing to get injured and feel that way that I couldn't contribute and be part of that team. But I agree with what you said in terms of like it actually gave me a chance to finally heal and just
Mhm.
take a step back and figure out kind of like what I wanted outside of track too, which
Yeah.
I feel like, unfortunately, for a lot of athletes, like you'd never have that realization until you get injured and until you physically can't play your sport
Mhm.
because it just like there's never any time to really think about that stuff when you're so locked in on the grind. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely think it was a blessing in disguise that it happened when it did happen because although I felt, upset and mentally it was tough again to watch my teammates go through an entire season, travel, make all these memories, and you're kind of just chilling at home. I also got to, figure out who I was outside of athletics and share my journey with injury and what that was like, and really just kind of dive into content creation and also just like building a community in other areas of my life, which looking
Mhm.
back, like I'm so grateful now that I was able to do that because I seriously don't know where I would be at if I had just gone through that season, competed, and then, like I don't know what I'd be doing right now. It's so
I
crazy to
know. I think that's so important what you said about like building the community outside of track, and like that whole like identity outside of your sport is so important. And
Yeah.
I remember talking to some of my teammates who also got injured. It's like a lot of people who don't go through injury don't realize that like your life is not fully your sport, and like it's not as like deep as you're thinking it to be. Like I
Yep.
know some of my old teammates like took it so seriously, and like it just kind of wrecks your mental game around the sport when you're so intensely involved in it.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like injury also helps for that, just like being able to take a step back and be like, okay, no, I have a life also outside of this. I am a whole person outside of my sport as well.
Yeah.
It's a hard journey, definitely, but I think it's also very important to go through.
Totally agree. I think it's like a must, like, it's something that you kind of just have to go through as an athlete. And I wish it didn't take a major injury for most people to realize that. I mean, obviously, it took that for me, but,
Mhm.
it really is important, I think, that, people like us who have gone through that and can be advocates for those teammates who luckily haven't, and are maybe super focused on their sport, but are also humans outside of it. Like we can be those advocates to be like, hey, like it's all right to take a couple of breaks here and there. And it's okay to enjoy life outside of your sport. I feel like finding the balance was honestly the best thing I could have ever done for myself because when you're super locked in and your focus is only on your sport, it can be really draining, especially when you don't see those results. So,
Mhm. Definitely 100%. And then you got injured again after that, right? You had one injury and then recovered, and then did you tear your Achilles again?
no, luckily I had only torn it once. So it
Okay.
was that first semester, but I did kind of have like a complication of that whole, not of the surgery, but it was just kind of something that happened during my recovery process. So
Okay.
I think it was about 6 months into the recovery. I was doing a lot of things normally again. I just started jogging and was lifting again, and things were going pretty well, but I started to feel like a little pain in kind of like the outside of my Achilles and outside of my
Mhm.
foot area. And so after, going through a whole summer of dealing with that, I got back to campus and we did a scan. The MRI showed that there was like a little cyst that had grown kind of like right beside my Achilles. And so the way that it was shaped, it's like such an odd scenario. Like, of course it would happen like this. Like the shape of it was like pressing on one of my nerves in my foot. So every
Oh,
time I would like
shoot.
push off of my foot, so like just when I'm walking, it would send like a sharp pain down that
Oh
nerve
my
because
gosh.
it's
Ow.
so it was like this pain that you can't even like a scenario that you can't even make up. Like how does that happen? And so I
Mhm.
did end up having surgery to remove the cyst and all that and kind of get it cleared up, which unfortunately dissolved my calf muscle again. So it kind of set me back in that aspect. But my Achilles was fully healed at that point. So I was able to get back into things a lot quicker. And I think that's what allowed me to actually get back in time to compete in a UCF uniform, go to conference and do all that. Although it wasn't kind of like the results I was looking for, I was just happy to really be back out there and kind of
Yeah.
prove that I was able to go through all that and get back and achieve my goal of competing for UCF. So,
Yeah. No, it's so I feel like that's another aspect of injury is that you start to appreciate like your ability to even do the sport and to
yeah,
compete even more so. And it
for
gives you a
sure.
little bit more of a drive as well, I feel
Yeah.
like. Did you find it really hard, like when you started to first get back into movement? Because for me, I remember like as soon as I started to get onto the track and do like more impact stuff, like A skips even, I remember being terrified of just like feeling that pain again or like having to go through that all again. Did you like kind of go through the same thing?
Absolutely. I feel like the first couple of times I actually touched the track again, I was like having an internal panic attack. Like I was just,
No.
you replay everything in your mind. And
Yes.
for me, like where I got injured was at school, like where I train every day. So it's like I couldn't avoid that track forever. Like
Yeah.
I had to go back and train there and do all this. Like I competed on the same runway where I got hurt eventually. Like it's a very crazy mental mind game that you have to kind of like overcome with literally standing on the same runway about to do exactly what you do when you got hurt. Like that is something that I feel like people do not talk about enough, and what kind of like impact that does to your mental. I feel like it's such a weird feeling to kind of have to go back exactly where everything went wrong and hope that it goes right this time, you know? So it was tough for sure. And even just like the fact that I got hurt personally through sprinting, like it wasn't even the jump part of the runway, it was just running. So
Yeah.
anytime I was getting back into full on sprinting, whether it was on the grass or on the Ultra G, like I was just super nervous to get started because it's like you think about it again when you got hurt and hoping that it doesn't happen again, right? So it's definitely a tough battle to overcome.
Yes, 100%. And like as track athletes, even as jumpers, we do so much sprinting that it's
Yes.
like it's inevitable.
And the plyos, oh my goodness. I
Yeah.
think that is probably an even worse part is just like learning how to like jump again.
Oh my gosh, I bet, yeah. Did you have to alter your training plan at all for like once you got back into practice? Like was it changed a little bit for you or were
Yeah,
you able to
no,
get
for
like fully 100% back?
honestly, I don't feel like I've even to this day had like a fully 100% like workout, if that makes sense. I feel like just it's always been in the back of my mind that I don't feel like 100% healed yet, and so there's always been something that is kind of affecting the workout or something that had to be changed or modified. So definitely the queen of modified workouts at this point because I've done an incredible amount of bike tempo and modified sprinting drills or whatever you can think of. Like, oh my goodness, I feel like I've done it all at this point. So
I can relate. I feel like I should be a biker at this point because all I've done is like
yeah.
stationary bike workouts my whole college career.
And they're
Literally.
awful. I still hate them. Like
They
the assault bike too. Oh my gosh, I
Oh
never
my
want to do
God. Oh my God, that's like the worst. And I remember having to do like 2 minutes, like full intensity on there.
it. Yep. There
Nothing
was
gets
genuinely a time where I was using the assault bike and I still had a cast on my foot. So I couldn't even use my legs on it. They just
Oh
had me going with the arms. And
oh
I was
my
like,
God.
this is torture.
That is torture.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I also wanted to get into, since we're on the topic, into the hidden opponent because I know we're
Yeah.
both part of that. How did you like get into the hidden opponent, decide to start being a campus captain with them and stuff?
Yeah. So I think again, like just part of that journey really stemmed from me getting injured and looking for new opportunities to kind of put myself out there to learn more about mental health in student athletes. And if I'm being honest, like I had just been following Victoria Garrick Brown for a long time. I've always loved her content and I listened to her podcast. And so once I learned about THO, I was like, oh my goodness, like this is such a great organization. I want to be part of it. And ended up meeting some really cool people throughout the process. And honestly, like I feel like I did a lot of my advocacy on the social media side where, I'd post a ton about mental health and really took advantage of some of their initiatives like Spirit Week, where I would do all the challenges and all that. And so I feel like I wasn't able to make as much of an impact on my campus, but I was able to kind of project that outwards to social media and to a bunch of different audiences.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's really how I got into it. And honestly, I'm still a part of THO to this day in kind of like their post-grad alumni group. I'm
Yes.
really excited to
Yeah.
continue to stay in touch, but absolutely love what they're doing.
hmm
So,
No, I think it's a great community. I found so many different connections through it and opportunities too. So
yeah.
I love that it's a thing. And
Yeah.
Victoria is like my inspiration for life. I love her.
No, she's awesome. And like honestly, I've had the chance to like chat to her a little bit too, and she's just so like bubbly and motivated, and I'm inspired by her too to just like create kind of like this empire that she's got going on. So,
Yes, yes. What are some like goals for you with your content creation and all of that?
yeah, I mean, I think at this point, it's funny that you asked that because I'm kind of in like this transitional period, right? Where it's like no longer doing like the day in my life as a student athlete or like media day, meet day, travel day, all that stuff. So I've kind of been experimenting with some new avenues that I want to pursue. On my YouTube channel, I've been doing like these little post-grad diaries, and I feel like that's kind of been taking off recently, which is super cool because
Mhm.
I feel like I just throw up my camera and I start yapping. So it's kind of fun that like people want to watch that.
Yes.
But I really do try to have like some conversations about like real life stuff that happens after you graduate and after you kind of lose your collegiate athlete community. And so I think a lot of people have been resonating with that.
Mhm.
Um, but I think in terms of like content creation as a whole, I really just want to continue to seek out new opportunities to attend events, whether that's in Orlando or when I'm home in Toronto, like just trying to collaborate with as many other creators as possible and working with some of my favorite brands. I have an exciting one that's coming up that I'm super excited about. Um, Honestly, like I feel like I'm pitching myself all the time to these brands. So when things like finally come around and work out, it's like it's
Mhm.
so exciting. So
That
hopefully
is.
that'll be out soon. But yeah, I feel like I want to turn content creation into a business. And so that's kind of where I'm headed with it.
Mhm.
And I feel like it plays a huge part in kind of who I am, but also what I'm doing working in the sports industry. A lot of those things
Mhm.
kind of intertwine. So
Yeah, I love that. Going back to like the retired athlete kind of thing, I wanted to get into that a little bit because
yeah.
I think what you're doing is so good because the life after sport is not talked about like at all very much. And
Yeah.
so I feel like that's why so many people are resonating with it and wanting to watch that kind of content because like we hear all about like what it's like being an athlete, day in the life of like what an athlete is, but like we don't really talk about, oh, like now I don't have this anymore. Like what is my life like now?
Yeah.
So I think that's great that you're talking about it.
Thank
Um,
you. No,
what
it's
is
crazy.
what is your life like now? Like what is a day look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of all over the place. Every day looks different now, which I
Mhm.
think is the biggest kind of wake up call for
Oh my God,
athletes
yeah.
because it's like normally, I think I just talked about this in one of my recent vlogs, but it's like you wake up and you either have like an outline on your Teamworks app of everything that you have to do that day from your, operations person, or you have like your schedule laid out where you go to class, you have practice, rehab, and then you do it again the next day. So it's like
Mhm.
you have this flow, but as soon as you graduate, like you don't have to answer to anybody anymore. You don't have to show up at practice and you don't have to go to class. So it's like, now what do you do? Right. And
Mhm.
I feel like that was kind of a harsh realization on my end is that, like, how do I navigate life without a schedule? And how do I create my own schedule so that I can go about, achieving my goals and what even are my goals? Like, it's all these
Mhm.
things that you kind of have to go back and really sit with yourself and think about because I think that's where I'm also really grateful for the fact that I've thought about life outside of sport at this point because I feel like for most athletes, like you kind of hang up the cleats or the spikes and then you haven't really thought about what's next and then you're kind of just stuck there, right? And so
Mhm.
I feel like I at least luckily had a head start on that point, but I would say like a day in my life right now. I've been finalizing some job opportunities for what I'm going to be working in as kind of like my 9 to 5 now, which is exciting. I'm not necessarily going to be a corporate girly, but I am going to be working in sports. So
I
that
love
is super
that.
exciting. Still going to be kind of throwing in content creation throughout that whole process, documenting a bit of my journey working in sports, but also just like fitness, lifestyle, anything that I'm doing outside of that. And I always tell people it's still been a dream of mine to compete for Team Canada and be an elite athlete. And some people think I'm crazy for wanting to do that still after all the injuries and everything, but it's always been like top of the list for my goals to do that. So we're
Yeah.
gonna we're gonna pursue that as well, which is exciting.
Yeah, that is so exciting. Yeah, my big goal has always been to wear like the Canada like little jersey and everything.
Exactly.
And I feel like people don't realize that like you can still try and go pro after when you're like in your 20s, in your late
Yep.
20s. It's not just like, oh, you're 22, you have to be an Olympian now.
Yep.
Like you can still go on with it. And so what is it? I know you have your pro track athletes we kind of
Yeah.
mentioned before. Do you want to dive into that and kind of like what your goals around that is too?
Sure. Yeah. It's honestly like it's such an exciting concept that I've actually gotten like some really good feedback on. And I realized that I wasn't the first person to kind of think about this or feel that this kind of was necessary. But essentially, ProTrackletes is a organization that I'm hoping to build out to become essentially the premier resource for those athletes in track and field that want to go pro.
Mm-hmm.
And I think kind of to your point, a lot of the stigmas around our sport kind of says like, oh, if you're not top of your game in college or if you haven't, made it to the pros by then, like your window's kind of,
Mm-hmm.
done. But it's not the case. Like track is just one of those sports where you can be a late bloomer and still be really successful into your late 20s. And it's all about having the right resources, having the right people around you, like building a community that will uplift you, will motivate you through the tough days, and will support you on, during times when you get injured or have something else going on. And so that's really what I hope to build with ProTrackletes is kind of just like this whole site or platform where athletes can go and like look up where's there a track in my area that I could train at for free or where can I get discounts on spikes? Like I need a new pair. Like things like that will make the transition easier because at least for me, like for a jumper, and I'm sure you could relate as well, like it's so hard to just kind of like figure out how you're going to train without all of your college resources. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like for a distance runner, it might be a little easier because you can just go for a run or you can do like your tempo on the road. But it's like for a jumper, you have to have a certain level of equipment depending on what kind of jumper you are. And I just feel like there's not as much support on that end. So I would love to kind of build out this organization to make the transition easier. And, it kind of stemmed from me wanting to do that for myself and wanting to help other people do that. So, yeah, we're in very early stages, but getting lots of interest and honestly hoping to ramp up with a lot of new initiatives soon. So,
Oh my gosh, I love that so much, especially because I find that now, having graduated from D1 track and graduated, I like am missing that team atmosphere and like having people to train with, having like a training plan because I'm like here, I'm
yeah.
like, okay, what workout should I do today? I don't know. What do I feel like? I don't even know what I feel like doing
Yeah.
because I'm so used to just like doing whatever I'm told to do. And then like also having to push myself now to work out like a more intense workout, whereas like before it's like, no, I have to do this intense workout, so I'm just gonna
Yeah.
do it. But now I have to find that motivation and it's a whole different like process and I think it would be a lot easier like having a community who also like is going through the same thing or who you can like find to work out with or like where tracks are because even that's a big thing that I've realized too is like, well, I don't really know what's around me,
Yeah.
like where to work out, who to work out with, like what clubs can I join, what coaches should I work with. So I think
Exactly.
that's amazing that like you're building like those kind of resources and like telling people like helping them out with that.
Yeah, I think like you nailed it with the community aspect because I mean, just having been injured and all that, I'm sure you can relate to that it's kind of a solo journey on that end when you're on the sidelines and once you lose kind of like your college community, it's really hard to like go back to your small town or wherever you're from and just kind of be like, all right, now what? Like, I can either go back to my high school and like maybe work out with high schoolers or like, I
Yeah.
don't know where to find people to kind of like work out with, right? So I'm really hoping that ProTrackletes kind of blossoms into this big community where everyone can share mutual resources and just kind of
Mhm.
help each other out because I think our sport is growing. There's so much interest around it right now with all these new leagues popping out with big prize money. Like, there's definitely a lot of interest. And so I think capitalizing on helping more athletes come out of college and being able to turn it into a career is something that is much needed. And, you know,
Mhm.
just something that I hope helps a lot of athletes stay in the sport and
Yeah.
keep it moving. So super exciting.
Yes. And I know we talked a little bit beforehand about like off camera about how a lot of people, even I think I'm just like, well, I have to sign with Nike or I have to sign with Adidas to be able
Yeah,
to go pro. Like, how do I like continue to do track without doing that? So
yeah,
like I think rewriting the whole script of it all is so important, especially in track, because like track is so individual. A lot of people don't really know what to do. And also like obviously in college, like we're all from different places. We don't have those people anymore
yeah.
around us to train with and everything. So
That's exactly it. And I think, I hope if they take anything from, you know, learning about pro triathletes is the fact that you literally do not have to have an endorsement deal or a sponsor to go pro. Like, I don't think most people realize, like you said, track being an individual sport, like you can train yourself even though it's not ideal, like you can essentially train yourself and like pay a $20 meet fee to go and compete
mhm.
in a meet, right? And so it's like it's not like the WNBA where you have to go to the draft and get signed or have an agent and all this stuff. Like obviously all those things help for structure and everything, but you do not have to be part of like this whole system in order to go pro in track. And
Mhm.
I think that's kind of the beauty of how it's set up right now because really it leaves it open for anyone to be able to do that and to pursue that. It just makes it more difficult because there's not like a process to follow in order
Yeah.
to get there. So it's a lot of figuring things out on your own, but hopefully ProTrackletes can be that kind of middle ground that makes things easier. And yeah, I'm just excited to get more interest and watch it blossom.
Mhm.
So
Yes, for sure. And track, I feel like I love track so much because it's like I've talked about this with my teammates a lot where like it doesn't really matter where you train or like where you go to school, anything like that.
yeah.
Like you're just training. You're doing the same workouts, you're doing the same training no matter where you are. Like you can get to a higher place no matter where you are, like or who
Yeah.
you're training with.
And I just think that what people don't realize too is that track is such a social community. Like,
Yes.
when I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, but like track athletes are like the laziest athletes because literally, like, we go to a meet and we're there for like 8 hours and we just lay there on the floor
Yep.
napping until we have to get up and do something. Like, the social aspect is so much bigger than people realize. And like, everyone in the track community kind of like knows each other or knows of
Mhm.
each other. So it's like there's already that connection there. Like, why is there such a barrier once you finish college to
Yeah.
going pro, you know? So it's really just a matter of bringing people together and kind of creating that or getting that community from college and bringing it into the pros. So,
That is so important.
yeah.
And as a jumper, I feel like it's so social. Like, because we
Yeah.
just sit there and just chat with each other even while we're competing, and then it's just like, okay, it's time to just go jump.
I know. It's so different from some of the sprints. Like,
It
I feel
is.
like field events can really all relate to that. But it's like when you're just standing there waiting for your turn, like, you're probably going to talk to the other girls that are
Mhm.
chilling there with you. Like, it's
Exactly.
really like that community aspect.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. I am so excited to see where the
Thank you.
ProTrackletes, is that how you
Yeah,
pronounce it? Okay.
ProTrackletes.
I'm so excited to see where it goes. And also I would love to be involved with it and take like ideas from that too.
I love that. No, for sure.
Because even like, so I'm moving to Spain in October.
Okay.
And so
So
I still want to do track there and find like clubs there. And so,
yeah.
I mean, I know one of my teammates is from Spain. So she's trying to help me out with like getting me into track
Okay.
clubs there. So,
That's awesome.
yeah. But also like finding meets and stuff that I can come home and do. I think
Yep.
it's another like aspect of it that's so important as well. And I'm
Yeah.
excited to do.
No, that is so exciting. Congrats. And I
Thanks.
feel like, that's going to be like, we'll definitely have to keep in touch throughout that whole journey because it's like, that's exactly what I'm hoping to help other people with is staying involved in the sport and finding ways to train like no matter where they are in the world. And I mean, like you said, like Spain has so many different like training groups and athletes and meets out there. So you'll definitely find something. It's just a matter of getting that connection. So
Exactly. And I know like Athletics Ontario has their like open division meets and stuff like that.
yeah. Yep.
So
Yeah, there's tons of opportunity in Ontario as well, like with the CPFL, like there's all these things. So,
yeah. I'm gonna start wrapping it up a little bit here, but like what inspires you the most to be doing this all and to be doing content creation and what like really keeps you going with this all? I'm really interested.
yeah, I mean, I am a big family person. It's kind of crazy because I am the oldest, sister or sibling that kind of moved away from family and I'm like doing all these big crazy things outside of my hometown and like I'm very much the vacation home, like everybody comes to visit me type of vibe, but I really do a lot of things for my family. They've done so much for me and they've supported me through everything. And so that is one thing that keeps me going. And I think also just like I've figured out that a lot of my purpose in life feels like inspiration and
Mhm.
being kind of like the leader by example and the doer, if you will. And so
Mhm.
I've always just had this vision and this feeling that I'm meant for bigger and better things and that there's no real limit to what I can do. And so I feel like that is a mindset that is inspiring to a lot of people and so I want to share that and inspire others to think the same way because at the end of the day like we have this one very short life and it's like you might as well go after the things that you're really passionate about and that you really care about and do things for the people that you love and so I'm very big on all those things and keeping that kind of at like the center of why I do things and how I approach different situations so
Mhm. I love that so much. That was a beautiful
yeah.
answer. Do you have with that, do you have any pieces of advice for some of the listeners or like any athletes that are upcoming and wanting to go D1 or who are dealing with injury, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean I think just based off of what I was saying like continue to dream big. Like if your dreams don't scare you a little bit, then, they're probably not big enough. I love that quote because it's
Yes.
like, if it's something that you can achieve easily like that, then it's not really a big enough dream, You have to kind of be I like the word delusion. You have to be a little bit delusional with like what you want because, if you shoot for the stars, like you're probably going to get pretty close to it. So you might as well aim big, but I think advice to anyone who is going D1 or maybe at any other division who's just starting college, like take care of the little things first. Like get enough sleep, drink enough water, make sure to hang out with your friends, like do stuff outside of your sport, all those things, and really just make sure you get the full college experience because at the end of the day, like your sport is only a part of who you are and it will come to an end one day. So you don't want like all of your memories from these really fun 4 years or 5 or 6 if you're lucky to be all about your sport and especially if it's not the results you were hoping for so make sure to just like live life outside of it too and yeah always dream big and keep life balanced. That would be my best advice.
Yes, that was perfectly said. I love that.
Thank you.
And I think that summarizes our whole conversation as well with like, you have to have a life outside of sport.
Yeah.
You have to be able to just push yourself, go for your dreams, go for it,
Yeah,
and do what you're passionate about as well. I think
exactly.
you are definitely a perfect inspiration for all of that. So,
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank
of
you.
course. Well, thank you for sharing today and coming on. I was so glad you accepted to be on.
I'm so honored to be your first guest. I love
Yes.
it.
I will put all your information in the description of this episode. And
Awesome.
I'll share it on my social media and everything like that. Everyone should go check her out 100%. Go follow her YouTube, her Instagram, all of that. And you were saying you wanted to start a podcast as well at some point.
So yeah, I'm gonna be starting kind of like a podcast through ProTrackletes. So if you guys
Love
want to
that.
follow that account, I'm probably gonna be working on some exciting projects with that soon.
Mhm. Okay, yes. I will definitely be tuning in 100%.
So I'm so excited.
Yes. Okay, well, I hope you have an amazing day,
Thank
and thank you
you.
so much for joining me.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye everyone.